Greetings, humanity! Today is Monday, February 2nd, 2026. Let's grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner, using GROK each weekday to help me search out and to summarize the biggest headlines in the news today. You also get the unparalleled benefit of this observer's opinions. We review a roundup of the most critical reports in the world, from Rafah, Minneapolis, Tehran, Washington, D.C., Hollywood, San Jose, Oslo, and the rest of the world. But first, a deep dive into today's top story right after this. God with Us, the story of Jesus, is a full blending of all the Gospels into one continuous narrative that misses nothing from the Savior's life. Inspired by the majestic text of the King James Bible, God with Us is adapted to modern language and formatted for easy reading. It's a faithful paraphrase divided into brief stories, fit for daily Bible studies. This book was fully researched to present the story of Jesus from his birth to his ascension. Find God with Us by me, Robert Gardner, at Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. And now let's grok the most important news in the world today, starting with our lead story, Dateline Rafah on the Gaza Strip on the Egyptian border. Gaza's long-closed Rafah border crossing with Egypt partially reopened for limited pedestrian traffic, marking a significant humanitarian and diplomatic development nearly 2 years after its full closure. Under the terms of the ongoing ceasefire and a U.S.-backed plan, authorities allowed an initial group of roughly 50 to 150 people to cross in each direction, primarily wounded Palestinians seeking medical treatment abroad and some returning residents. No commercial goods or large-scale aid convoys are yet permitted, as new security protocols are tested. This move is being hailed by the European Union's top diplomat as a concrete and positive step, while medical sources on the ground report that only a handful of the hundreds of critically ill patients identified will be able to leave in the first phase. Despite the cautious restart, sporadic violence continues in parts of Gaza, with reports of civilian casualties in so-called safe zones, raising concerns about the ceasefire's stability. The partial reopening is viewed as a key test of Israel's post-war border management strategy and a potential pathway toward greater civilian movement and reconstruction aid. Now we grok the headlines from around the globe. Dateline Los Angeles. The 2026 Grammy Awards became a major platform for anti-ICE activism, as usual, as Grammy winners, including the despicable Bad Bunny with Album of the Year and incomprehensible Billie Eilish, used their acceptance speeches to condemn U.S. immigration enforcement, with calls of ICE out and no one is illegal on stolen land, drawing both applause and backlash. As vapid, brainless, anti-American celebrity speeches always do. This observer has a question. What land on the entire planet is not claimed as being stolen from someone? Volunteers? Anyone? Dateline. Various U.S. cities, all of them deep blue. Nationwide protests against ICE intensified, hundreds marching in San Antonio with student walkouts. Just don't let them walk back in. And high-profile support from figures such as faded artist Bruce Springsteen, who performed an anti-ICE song, and Boston Mayor Michelle Wu, who declared that every human on Earth has a legal right to enter the United States. I'm speechless. I have nothing to say to that. Nothing you want to hear. Dateline Washington, D.C. A partial U.S. government shutdown entered its third day as lawmakers remain deadlocked over funding for the Department of Homeland Security and ICE operations, with Democrats pushing for so-called immigration enforcement reforms amid their escalating insurrectionist protests and federal crackdowns on their sedition. Economic impacts are mounting, though a resolution may be near. Government shutdowns used to only be blamed on Republicans, you see, but times have changed. Dateline Tehran. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, warns of a possible regional war if the United States launches military strikes against Iran, delivering the stark message amid sharply rising U.S.-Iran tensions. This observer is both sure that the Ayatollah is serious and that any such war he proposes would be far briefer than this evil cleric imagines. Dateline Washington, D.C. The latest release of literally millions of Jeffrey Epstein-related documents by the Department of Justice has reignited controversy, revealing connections to high-profile figures including Norway's crown princess, while some survivors criticize the partial nature of the disclosure. Other victims criticize imperfect redactions that allow some identities of victims to be deduced. Washington, D.C. President Trump announced that the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts will close for 2 years, beginning July 4th, for a complete rebuilding and major renovations aimed at making it a world-class venue, prompting criticism from artists who were critical when Trump took over the aging, dilapidated structure in the first place. If there's one thing among many that Trump has proven good at, it's his building projects. But this observer has seen that some people will automatically hate anything he touches, following their programming like good little hate bots. Dateline Minneapolis. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon was arrested, you may have heard, during a Minnesota protest was arrested because of a Minnesota protest connected to, you see what I mean? You've got to be careful with GROK or any AI. Don Lemon was arrested because of a Minnesota protest connected to immigration enforcement and ICE operations in which he and other miscreants invaded a church, disrupting their worship services. He was later released and allowed to attend the 2026 Grammy Awards. The incident drew attention to free speech and protest rights amid nationwide unrest. Dateline deep in the heart of Texas. In a low turnout special election, a Democrat has temporarily flipped a deep red Texas state Senate district that Donald Trump previously won, signifying potential shifting political dynamics in a long-time Republican stronghold. As usual, Republicans, despite prompting from many observers, such as this one, remain asleep at the switch, many of them determined to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Many of them don't actually like being in charge. They just want a seat at the table and a piece of the pie before the building burns down around them. Dateline San Jose, Costa Rica. A tough-on-crime conservative candidate has declared victory in Costa Rica's presidential election, securing a significant right-wing win in the Central American nation. Hopefully there'll be a lot more of that. Isn't it amazing that wanting law and order is associated only with the right wing of politics in free countries? Dateline Beijing. China executed 4 more individuals linked to the Myanmar-based scam and mafia operations as part of its ongoing crackdown on cross-border criminal networks. Wait, does this make China right-wing? Dateline London. Former Labor Minister Lord Peter Mandelson resigned from the party to spare it further embarrassment after new Jeffrey Epstein document revelations highlighted his past connections to the disgraced financier. This observer is amazed but not surprised at how many of the world's elite were caught up in Epstein's pedophile sex network. One only wonders how many are still participating in such things. I mean, Epstein wasn't the only one, you know. Dateline Oslo, Norway. Norway's crown princess faced renewed criticism over previously undisclosed links to Jeffrey Epstein, while her son is scheduled to stand trial on multiple rape charges, putting the royal family under intense scrutiny. This observer wonders indeed how many, if any, of the world's elite are actually upstanding, decent folk. Dateline, the Ukraine. 12 miners were killed when Russian forces struck a mining facility in Ukraine, adding to the mounting civilian toll in the ongoing war. This observer wonders when the most preventable war in history will end. Dateline Las Vegas. The FBI is investigating a suspected illegal biological laboratory operating inside a private residence in Las Vegas, raising potential public health and national security concerns. One must wonder if ties to China will be revealed, as with other recent biolab disclosures in America. Dateline, the global markets. Gold and silver prices plunged sharply amid stronger U.S. dollar and shifting investor sentiment following recent market losses. Seems like just weeks ago, gold and silver were hitting record highs. Well, this observer just put everything into the S&P 500 when Trump was reelected and hasn't looked back. You would have to be Nancy Pelosi to do any better. But Tesla is looking promising, with big changes there in AI and robotics straight ahead. Dateline, across the USA, Starbucks has announced plans to deploy more robotic brewing systems as part of its strategy to reverse declining customer traffic and to compete in a more and more crowded coffee market. Dateline, Balochistan. Pakistani security forces killed 145 fighters in Balochistan following a series of deadly militant attacks in the violent province. And finally, we have a global dateline here. Around the world, the flood of low-quality, AI-generated content, often called AI slop, is rapidly transforming social media feeds and sparking growing backlash from users and platforms. This observer hopes he is using GROK AI responsibly and not creating low-quality content. As they say about the self-driving cars, keep your hands on the wheel, folks. Keep your hands on the wheel. I thank you for listening. Please join me tomorrow to once again grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner. Godspeed and God bless.